Thank you so much for staying right here with us. We have our guest seated in the studio to discuss these matters arising with us. It's ATN Blowout, and I am Enidoye Jackson. With me in the studio is Dandy Loveday. And Dandy Loveday is one of our regulars in ATN Blowout. He loves to talk for development. He loves to talk with the voice of the people. He's a public affairs analyst, and it's always a pleasure having Dandy on ATN Blowout. Thank you so much, Dandy, for joining us. Welcome. How do you see the weather?
Very good. Very good.
Okay. All right. Let's delve straight to it. The first story we're looking at is talking about what the president has said. President Bola Tinubu said yesterday that his government was winning the war against corruption. He cited the strengthening of anti-corruption agencies and the political will to implement the ECOWAS protocol against corruption, amongst many other measures. He spoke at the 6th Annual General Assembly of the Network of Anti-Corruption Institutions in West Africa, that's Nasiwa, and themed strengthening regional cooperation in the fight against corruption in Abuja. That was yesterday. Tinubu, who was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, stated that his government has worked diligently to ensure the independence and adequate funding of anti-corruption agencies, encouraging them to cooperate within the law. The president, who also recommended this template to other states in West Africa, said corruption remains one of the most significant obstacles to the progress and prosperity of our nations. It undermines the fabric of our societies, erodes public trust, and impedes the equitable distribution of resources. As leaders, we are responsible for confronting this challenge with unwavering resolve and concerted actions. Over the past year, we have worked hard to strengthen all the anti-corruption agencies in Nigeria by not interfering in their activities and ensuring that they are adequately funded. We have also encouraged them to operate within the law. All right, this was a statement of the president, and he also recommended this to other states in Africa. Yes, let's get your thoughts on the president's statement about winning the war against corruption in Nigeria. He already told us how.
Okay, what the vice president pointed out three things, and then described it as winning the war. One, he said funding the anti-graft agency very well, not interfering
in the activities.
So, and then also encouraging them to, you mentioned there's a third thing you read out and all that. So I don't know how this could equate to fighting corruption or winning the war against corruption. Okay, however, the vice president might have pointed out the best the government is doing towards fights against corruption.
What would be your definition of winning the war against corruption?
Because I'm taking from what the vice president has said. He said they are winning the war against corruption. And from what he said, how are they winning the war? They are funding the anti-graft agency very well. So ordinarily, if you're being funded, it means to whom much is given, much is expected. So if of course the anti-graft agency have not also come to say whether they are being funded or not. But if they say they funded them, that should be a morale boost. It means the anti-graft agency should know that, yeah, we are well funded, all the vehicles we need, they are available, all the allowances are paid, everything is paid. Of course, unfortunately, the anti-graft agency cannot reply a vice president. Then the second one is that they don't interfere. In that angle, we don't even know if that's also possible for them not to say we don't interfere. If the vice president is saying they don't interfere, there are so many persons. The president's cabinet has been accused of having corruption issues. So, except if you allow me to mention, some persons have been accused, some persons have had issues with EFCC, and then they were given appointment. So many, and all that. The ministers and all that in the past had issues. What happened to the matters? Even those at the National Assembly. So the issue of not interfering, I don't know the definition. I don't know how the vice president came up with that definition, that they are not interfering. And then, again, the EFCC cannot come out to answer the vice president. So in all of this, the vice president could not also point out that these are the corruption cases which paraded. These are the monies recovered so far These are issues. These are key political. These are VIPs we've gone after that took our money and then we've recovered it. So he was unable to point out, and then you're telling the West African countries to emulate. I don't know. Okay, then they thought
him mentioning a lot, because we might have had a lot of cases like that. So he's just telling us the ways in which they have. That's why I asked you earlier, if you don't see that probably the way you're seeing it, how do you think would be, what is your definition when you talk about winning, not just fighting now, winning the war against corruption? Okay,
under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari, something happened. You know, when the man came in, he made a statement. He said, I'm for nobody, I'm for everybody. And then that's infused fear in the hearts of so many politicians. And at the time, you saw people returning money. That's what we call winning corruption. Winning. People were willingly returning money, and the EFCC were going after so many persons. Unfortunately, that didn't end well. They started well, but they didn't end well. They didn't end well in the sense that at the time, it became as if that government got loose, and then people went back to their share and said, no, actually nothing is happening. So that's part of a way to win corruption. Even at the time, the central bank governor, that administration through the central bank governor, came up with a policy where they said, everybody return your money, we wanted to change this. Those were strategies to recover funds. Because there were these allegations that funds were being hoarded. And the circulation was not much. So when you see practical ways of winning corruption, even we may say it didn't go to the extent at which we expected, but things were happening. These were being reported on air. But right now, what the vice president is now trying to say we're winning corruption is because have they not been funding the EFCC? Except he's saying this is the first time we're funding the EFCC, and you're describing this as a way of winning corruption. I think the vice president, the other things he should have said, maybe he didn't say.
Even the president, because the vice president was standing in for the president at that time.
Okay, I think the president, the other things, one of the things he mentioned is ECOWAS, following the ECOWAS, and I think the other thing he should have said, the other thing he should have pointed out, like telling us we've gone against this, we've recovered so and so amount of money, the money we recovered, we've put it into this and all that. Well,
I think EFCC would explain better. If probably it was EFCC boss talking, he would be able to tell us how much they have recovered and what steps they have taken. But you would agree with me that the EFCC recently, especially recently, have been in the news so much for different activities that they've been carrying out in fight against corruption.
Some of the activities have just been on the Nigerian issue where they target Yahoo, and that's most of the persons they've been parading. Can you imagine? Is there any VIP? These persons, the main persons who are carrying money, is there anyone? All the investigations they've been carrying, what's happening? People have been shouting. Is there anyone that have been paraded? There are so many persons that diverted palliatives. Where?
But have we heard any case where EFCC complained about not being properly funded?
They have not heard. And then the vice president,
is obviously not out of place if he says that they're fighting or winning the war against corruption by funding the anti-graft agency.
If I also go back to your question, have there been any time EFCC cried that they've not been funded? Exactly. So how do you take this as a credit?
So don't you see that as a way of the government supporting the fight against corruption?
If it's true, it's a motivation. If it's true, well, of course, if EFCC cannot come and counter the president. So it is like releasing an arrow. It has gone forth. So for you to return it is hard. You just murmur with it. There is nothing else you can do. So, but it will be unfortunate if they are not being funded, properly funded. And then the president is saying that because indirectly they are making more money. They are even adding to the national income. So if the vice president, I don't even see any reason why the vice president should take that as a credit. Even if it's supposed to be. There are no times the EFCC has said you've not been funded. There are no times they've cried out of lack of fund.
So it's not out of place for him to say that.
Is that a credit? If it has been a routine, other governments have been doing it. And then you're coming out to see it as a credit without telling us these are cases, the EFCC, these are funds EFCC have been able to recover. No, none. The jump issue that happened, where they said something swallowed money. Where is it? We had forensic audits at the NDDC. Then we had, recently we had the what? The report is missing. What's the EFCC saying about it? We also had some top political officers. Why they were governors? They had EFCC cases. Immediately they left, the EFCC wrote to them. Some of them were declared wanted. What happened?
Talking about fight against corruption and funds, let's also get to look at other agencies. Let's look at the police now. How much are they funded? Because when we talk about fighting corruption, we're not just looking at the EFCC. We're not just talking about that. We're also looking at the police, because are they not part of the fight against corruption?
Yes.
So how much are they really funded in this fight that we are already winning?
When you talk about fighting corruption, most especially the EFCC, yes, they have that key responsibility. The police has been, even if most persons from the police are now taking over to the EFCC on a special duty. Now, when you talk about crime fighting, the EFCC cannot come out and say, okay, all those corruption and other crime, they go in line. But the police most times have presented as if they concentrate more on fighting other crime, like terrorism, cultism, and all that. Why the EFCC is geared towards fund recovery.
All right.
Now, if all of them, but whatever it is, all hands must be on deck.
But back to the activities of the EFCC now. We had the new boss, and a lot of people have been stating, you know, the achievements ever since he came into that office and all of that. But let's get to look at your analysis of, aside the president saying what the federal government has done, let's look at the activities of the EFCC and how much you think they have achieved so far.
So far, they've been trying, but unfortunately, we've had the issue of those fighting corruption being accused of being corrupt. Like what happened with the former EFCC boss. Even like the police, you also asked of. There was this police officer we all rated something good. All of a sudden, he was also rated to be involved in corruption. So if an EFCC boss is tagged to be corrupt, where are we? So recently, I also think when you're fighting corruption, there are ways corruption will fight back. Except I give it to New Yorubado, whom only he has fought corruption. He came up with this fight and I was chasing everybody, almost everybody. And then there were no time they leaked, should I say, they attached corruption cases towards him. Then recently, we've now had EFCC personnel that have been tagged as being corrupt, and they are even showing you evidence. So that's one challenge the EFCC have had. And then the issue of appointing somebody because it's my uncle's brother is also another challenge the EFCC have had. Outside that, the tempo, the momentum in the EFCC has gone low. It's either the EFCC is working so hard they don't even want to make use of the media for us to know, or they are not just doing at all, so the media does not have anything to report. So that's the two ways I can.
All right, EFCC has been in the news actually. It was when this NSAS protest talk started. That's when it seems like, and then the national anthem. That's when it looks like diversion came from their attention from them. But let's look at this next story now. We have reports that police has invited Joe Ajaero, the president of Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC), for interrogation on charges related to alleged criminal conspiracy, terrorism, financing, treasonable felony, subversion, and cybercrime. Mr. Benson Upa, the NLC head of Information and Public Affairs, disclosed this in a statement made available to newsmen on Monday in Abuja. Now, the National Growth LS Opa said Ajaero was summoned via a letter dated August 19 and signed by ACP Adamu Mauzu on behalf of the Commissioner of Police Intelligence. The letter, according to Opa, stated that Ajaero's name was mentioned in an ongoing investigation connected to the alleged criminal offenses. Accordingly, the letter directed Ajaero to report at the IRT complex Abattoir by Guzape Junction on Tuesday, August 20. That's today at 10. threatening that a warrant of arrest will be issued against him if he failed to report. Now, he also said a personal message was also sent to Ajero by one SP Moshood, stating that we were at the Labour House to submit this letter of invitation, but the place was locked, sir. He stated that NLC found the development curious because there were workers in the office till 6 p.m. So, and Ajero was not addressed by his official title of President of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Clearly, the last has not been heard about the raid on the headquarters of the Nigeria Labour Congress. In his words, preceding the raid, Congress had advised government to dialogue with the organizers of the protest, even as Congress had clearly stated it was not part of the protest. Congress criticized the police for the high casualty rate during the protest, and then he added that Congress in its NEC communique after the raid expressed outrage at the behavior of the police and demanded for an apology from both the police and the government. At its World Press Conference last Thursday, Congress had raised an alarm that should anything happen to the leadership of the Congress or any of its members, the police should be held accountable. This is like, after the letter was sent, it's more like they're saying, oh, this is probably the reason they're trying to indict us, even though we had stated earlier that we're not part of the protest. Dandy, how do you see this?
Oh, this is...
And what are you clapping for now? The NLC,
you know,
or...
I'm trying to clap for both the NLC and then the presidency.
Okay.
Why do I say so? Joe Ajero is now being alleged to have terrorism issues and all that. I will not speak for Joe Ajero. Probably, if he's not guilty, he should just go and answer his... this. But one thing that came to my mind is, Joe Ajero, what have you really committed? In this case, could it be because you agitated for... You were at the forefront, even if we didn't even see much of him, when he was agitating for minimum wage? You know, I was asking myself, how come this man looks as if he's quiet, unlike the previous incident? Now, before then, he was also beaten up at Imo State and all that. And now, criminal cases. And these things are just coming. If Joe Ajero is not guilty of this crime, then it means some government forces may also have devised means to weaken labor agitation. And why did I clap? It has now set between labor and the government. Except labor movements have now realized that Joe Ajero is guilty. But if Joe Ajero can't go and clear himself, or everything is just that it has been seen that Joe Ajero isn't guilty of this. Oh my God, I will clap again because the war has been, not even a war, should I say the battle line has been drawn. So
you think this is like an indictment, like they're trying to indict Joe Ajero, or like a retaliation towards something? You think there's an underneath story behind it?
I won't even say it's an indictment because Joe Ajero himself have not even come out to say I'm not guilty.
Yes.
He has not also gone to answer the police to present himself boldly to say I'm not guilty. So, but if he had done that today at 10 a.m. Yes, he has to. It's a police invitation.
Yes.
Then, but if he's going, he should also guide himself, because by the time you enter there, they will bring one other things and all that. So he has lawyers. He can go with his lawyers. He even have the other union leaders. He can go. He's not an ordinary person.
But you're tracing this down to the fight against the refusal and the increase of minimum wage.
No, I'm saying, could this be...
Because they are channeling it to the protest now. Yes, could this be what?
Could it be that probably Joe Ajero agitated for minimum wage increase?
Why would you say could it be? Because he actually did. It's
because the police didn't even say that was the reason. They said terrorism, sponsoring these criminal activities and all that. And then Labour is saying, could it be because we made a press statement advising the government to go and dialogue with the protesters? If Labour did not, Labour also came to disassociate themselves from the protest.
Yes, they did.
So if they've joined, what will you say? Are they also calling for another strike? Is there anything Labour is agitating? That's why I said, if Joe Ajero is not guilty, Joe Ajero have not come up to say anything. So we don't, I mean also preempt Joe Ajaru's reaction. So if he is not guilty, it means the Labour want to fight back. Of course, they must have a reason to fight back, and this should also serve as a deterrent to Labour. Why do I say so? Workers cry. People are being humiliated in their various working places. Private sectors, government sectors, and all that. People cry, workers cry, and nobody hears. And people will even agitate in a state. Labour will come back and tell us if they are along with the government without tangible reasons.
But that was not was that the case recently? That's
why I said this should serve as deterrent, whatever it is. People have been going through humiliation in their working place as if there is no Labour. And then it has now happened to the president of Labour Union. That's why I say it should serve as a deterrent. So when you think the person you tagged as the smallest worker in the rural area doesn't matter, is coming to the band at the head of our affair. So now he should go and face it.
But when we look at it, Labour has already given a statement concerning this, even though we're waiting for him to go meet the police at 10 a.m. today. It's not yet 10 a.m. So we're waiting for that, and definitely tomorrow we're going to get to take that story. But Labour has given a statement, and they're already telling us that they are suspecting that it could be because of the protest, because of their statement when they talked down on the activities, the violence, especially the activities of the police now. So they are saying, okay, because we talked against them and now they are coming to lay accusations on us or on the president now, not the whole Labour.
Very recently, the Nigerian police present themselves to be very professional. Let's be realistic. If he gets there, they will show him evidence. Now it's left for him to say, it's not me. This is not me. But they must present evidence. Nigerian police, they don't come out to say what they are just saying. They will show you evidence. Now it's left with you to say, it's me or it's not me. So if Joe Ajaru should just go there and say, I'm a Labour leader, what are you saying? He won't even return. He may be locked up. So he has to guide himself. This issue, most times when people, Joe Ajaru has even tried than the previous Labour Union leaders and all that. So if Joe Ajaru, at the time he fought, he stood out, he made statements, he addressed issues before he could just take decisions. Unlike the other Labour leader that came to Rivers State while the workers were crying, and then all of a sudden, midnight, he entered and came out and said, we have settled with the government, and he ran away.
And people were expecting that during this last protest.
This last Labour disassociated themselves. They weren't
the last strike, rather. People were expecting that was going to happen with the minimum wage.
Good, that's why I said I was even surprised. He was so calm. He wasn't even the one talking more. It was the TUC, the man at the TUC issue. That was even the person that was talking. So it could be that they've been throwing passes at him. Or it may also be he could have seen that either he's guilty of something or not. But he has not also come to him up to say the police have also not proven him guilty. The court. The police have alleged. It's left for the court to say whether he's guilty or not. So until that matter comes out, but whatever it is, Labour should know that the welfare of their members, they should take it serious. You shouldn't even go and be dining and whining with the government. When it's good with you, you think it's good with all workers. This should serve as deterrent to all of them.
All right, thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. Let's take a short break now. When we return, the conversation will continue with other stories on our table. Please stay right here with us. All right, good to know you're still with us. Let's delve straight to the next story, still 80 Blowout. President Bola Tinubu has approved the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to use the 2023 final dividend owed to the Federation to cover the cost of petrol subsidies. In addition, the President has approved a halt on the payment of the 2024 interim dividends to the Federation to help boost NNPCL's cash flow. Now, also, we had reports that NNPCL informed the President that due to the subsidy payment, it is currently unable to pay taxes and royalties into the Federation account, referring to this as a subsidy shortfall on forex differential. Now, forecasts from NNPC obtained by by newsmen indicated that the total petrol subsidy expenses from August 2023 to December 2024 will amount to about 6.9 trillion naira, leaving the company unable to remit 3.9 trillion naira in taxes and royalties to the Federation account. The exact amount of dividends that could or that would be withheld or put on hold could not be verified as at time of writing this report. Dandy.
The President asking NNPC to wait, because I'm trying to get a clear view of this story. NNPC dividend for petrol subsidy. Is it that there's no fuel subsidy or they want to pay fuel subsidy? I don't understand what's going on.
Would you like me to go over the story?
No. I'm trying to say I don't understand what's going on. Are we going forward and backward? Is it we want to start paying fuel subsidy? And then I thought we've removed it. Oh God, help us. So anyway, the issue is that probably it could also be an immediate intervention by the President. Maybe probably he's listening and he has been hearing people agitate.
Remember he told us to take our minds off that, like from his statement, during his broadcast when he said there's no going back on that.
Yeah, there's no going back, but are we going back? That's why I started with, what's happening? Are we going back to that era? Probably it could also be a good intervention, especially considering the price of fuel at this time and how it's rising and all that. And then NNPC complaining that due to the fuel subsidy payment, they may not be able to remit taxes to the federal government. So the whole thing in that sector, I think the whole thing is just bent on trying to revive the economy. That's why I feel the President is doing. If there's an immediate intervention to help stabilize the economy or try to bring back the economy to the price, demand and supply to equilibrium, that's a welcome development. But if it will end up trying to enrich some other pockets again, it could also be a political strategy to enrich some persons. It could also be a way to cushion the effects of what we're going through in the economy. It could also be, so this whole thing is not clear. So
let's look at the NNPCL now. A lot of people have been calling for the sack of the group MD, Mele Kyari. And I really haven't had this conversation with you ever on the show. Yeah. So what is your thought on that?
If the man is presenting himself as not doing well, he can go. It's only in Nigeria you wait for people to sack you before you know you're not doing well. If he feels he's not doing well, he can resign.
Not what he feels now, it's what you think. And references were made, especially even yesterday in the news, it was reported that an ex-militant, individuals, aside what we had with the National Assembly the other time, we've had individuals calling for the sack of Mele Kyari, right? And then people are making reference to the postponement of the resumption of the refineries. You know, the Port Harcourt refinery, which you have always made reference to. The last time he talked about it was just beginning of August. And today is the 20th of August. And we've had reports that people are calling for the sack of the group MD. This is just one out of many other circumstances.
Annie, can you recall I told you that date wasn't going to be effective? in this studio, I told you it was when they said the Port Harcourt refinery is going to come up again. Is it here on your radio station? I said it wasn't.
You said it here.
Yeah, I said it wasn't even going to be. I said no, it's going to be. You said why am I not having confidence?
I said have faith in your country.
I said there was no. We don't.
Especially as people have said that this is a new administration, and since it's a new administration and this time it's coming up to say this, let us hope that it will be better this time. You know,
first I'm an economist and then an analyst. I'm trying to tell you what will happen. I'm not even trying to tell you this is faith. This is not even a church thing. It's a country. And yes, it's not a church thing. If you have not put things in place to make it work, it won't work.
You know, there was a post that the Port Harcourt refinery will be functional by August and all of that. And then someone asked the question, is the refinery aware that they will be functional?
You know, if they said August, they've been saying every month. Yes. Yeah, somebody said, is the refinery aware that it's not functioning? The refinery wasn't even aware. Let me also go by what.
How do you know the refinery wasn't aware?
The refinery wasn't aware because the road leading to the refinery, you can't pass that road. So it doesn't even show like anything wants to start happening in this area. So the refinery wasn't aware that they were ready to start operation in that angle. That's not enough
facts to back that.
That's my own personal opinion.
That's no longer
my opinion. Of course.
That's you stating. And you're stating what you think is the reality. That's no longer an opinion.
The road leading to the refinery.
No, you saying that the refinery are not aware.
The refinery won't be aware. You know, if you want to commission this whole building, everybody around this vicinity will know something wants to happen here. Because there will be cleanup, there will be decoration, and then you have, especially the kind of person, let's say the governor is coming here. You arrange it in such a way that it will befit the governor's commissioning of this place. But you're talking about a refinery, you want to open it, and there's no road leading to the place. How do they even transport products from that place? Then many carry have been promising us, apart from that, the price of fuel keep rising in the midst of no more fuel subsidy. And then the money that's coming out from it, you're not able to account for it, and more of that.
And then you're saying, if he feels he's not functioning in capacity, is it about what he feels anymore?
That's why.
Remember when he was called in for an interrogation recently, and he was so bold, you know, to tell was it House of Reps now, Senate, was so bold to tell them that, you know, the refinery, that was where he made this statement about August, and then the other refineries before December. That was where he made this statement that the newest and the freshest statement, you know, before the end of August or towards the beginning of August.
If he doesn't want to resign, and he feels he's doing a lot, there could be other factors that are making him not even function properly. And he's not speaking up.
For how many years?
He's not speaking up.
It's been a long time.
So if Medicare refuse, if he's in advance...
What can we really say that the NNPCL have done since he came into office?
Ask him, he will tell you.
That's a big question.
No, ask him, he will tell you. The person who is keeping him there, the president who is keeping him there, does he not know? So why are they keeping? That's why I said there could be other factors. Other persons benefiting from there, hindering him from performing. And that's why nobody can sack him. So that's also why I came up with the fact that if you know he's not functioning well under your supervision, gently resign. If they can't sack you, you're so powerful, resign. That's the problem we have in the country. You know you're not doing well. This sector is handed over to you. Nothing is working. The masses are suffering. Just because, probably, who is benefiting from that sector. They will always come and tell you, don't worry, nothing will happen. And nothing is happening. We're sacking him. How can somebody in a country, you come up and say, there was, in another country, let me not mention it, just a mere protest. Somebody died. They resigned. The prime minister even resigned recently. In Nigeria, who is resigning? They're even telling you hunger, low standard of living. Nobody is resigning. Not even think of, okay, look at, and a whole, somebody who is in charge of NNPC cannot resign. Why do you think a president will resign? So it seems to tell you how far the corruption has eaten deep. The same corruption the vice president is saying they are winning. You're heading something. In fact, that's even the full core determinant of our national income. The petroleum sector.
And that's why...
And we are joking with it.
Asking big questions like, why is nobody saying anything?
That's the problem. That's the problem. That's why I said, is it possible that there are people who are benefiting while the masses are suffering? And nobody can even tell him, go down. If the president stands up and says, you're sacked, he's sacked. As simple as ABCD. Then if he also feel with conscience that I'm suffering the people, with all we are doing, I'm suffering the people, let me resign. He's not resigning.
The saying that if he thinks he's suffering the people, does he really have everything that is needed to put the refineries in capacity? That's another thing we need to look at. Because when you started your analysis, you talked about the fact that he could be under some sort of influence.
That also takes us back to that influence. That takes us back to show that there are lots of, in fact, they've made it publicly that money has been allocated to that angle. Why Temi Silva was the Minister of Petroleum State, they allocated a lot of money to that sector. In fact, he made promise that it was going to work before he leaves. Unfortunately, someone who is even from this angle as a Minister of Petroleum could not deliver. Then, whatever it is, and Medicare is there, I think we also have a Minister of Petroleum who is also from this angle. So why is he not also saying anything? Why is everybody quiet? It shows that there are lots of corruption going on in that angle. There are lots of persons benefiting from that sector. And then nobody wants to say anything. Unfortunately, the president is not even saying anything. So the president has to say, he has to even tell us, President, are you comfortable with what Medicare is doing? If he's not, why are you still there? Okay, now we're talking about, we're giving hope. We are trying to build Nigerians' hope on Dangote refinery. This same Dangote refinery is facing war, facing internal crisis. War is not even Cold War any longer. From who is who? And then to an extent, it came up that it was linked to even NNPC, to an extent. And then the president had to give a directive. So it means there are a lot going on there that are not even coming up to the media. So why is Medicare not resigning? Why is the price of petrol?
Why are Nigerians not pushing enough for his resignation?
What will you push? When we push for 10 days, what happened? What are you pushing?
So you think nothing has happened or nothing will happen?
That's what I'm saying. What has happened? Part of the push was for him to resign. Has he resigned? Part of the push was for the president to sack him. Instead, the price of PMS rose. It went even higher. And then people, the same persons who protested, who agitated, are even saying, what was the essence of the protest? Is this supposed to be so? It ought not to be. The president should be a listener. I've said it here. The president should create a channel in which the masses and those in government can communicate. Try to hear from the people. Try to listen to the people.
Do you think the president really wants to hear from the people?
Why will he not hear?
He talked about giving chance for dialogue, but we didn't get to hear any invitation for dialogue.
He won't. Okay, why so? Is that a good thing? It's not. Let me tell you, the whole of this quagmire we're facing in this country, the whole of this we're facing in our economy and all that, we start going down after this year. Why do I say so? From next year and all that will become political era. And then because the people are angry, they will not start attending to it. That's also another temporary solution, which could also be the step taken by NNPC right now.
All right, Daddy, let's take a look at what's going on in the health sector in Nigeria. Nigeria Health Commissioners Forum has lauded the president's approval for the national policy on health workforce migration to address the exodus of Nigerian doctors abroad. The 36 commissioners said that the policy would help transform Nigeria's healthcare human resource management and tame the exponential drifting of medical doctors to foreign countries. This was contained in a communique issued on Friday by the commissioners at their third quarterly meeting and jointly signed by its chairperson, who doubles as Ekiti State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Oyebanji Filani, and the Secretary, Dr. Amina Ahmed El Imam. They explained that the death of health practitioners, that's a dearth of health practitioners in the country. Occasioned by brain drain makes it imperative for innovative strategies to be taken to attract, train and retain health professionals in Nigeria. Now that's the challenge. Now the 36 commissioners reiterated their commitment, preparedness to enhance surveillance and response, including pre-positioning of drugs, supplies, rapid response teams to contain any future outbreaks effectively. They called for strong control measures that could reinforce partnership with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control to curtail spread of infectious diseases in the country. This is the president now, the federal government, taking steps towards reducing the rate of brain drain in the health sector. This has been a big problem in Nigeria for years now. In fact, it's by the year it seems like it increases because it's easier now to travel out than it was probably in the past. So let's, especially on this basis, professional basis.
Okay, I think it will be the right thing for president to try to end this Japa syndrome. To be very good if he can't do it, and try to achieve it. It won't be by just mere talking. Conference, you just dish out press statements and then talk and make Nigerians feel good. Recently, we've just been talking much and with less action. How do you even want to achieve this? You say you want to increase surveillance. Increasing surveillance, what's the workforce? How many persons are remaining? How many persons are there? If you even go to some of the hospitals, practically, you find out that one doctor is even attending to over 200 persons. And one nurse is attending to, in fact, the nurse is just there shouting.
Sometimes it's not because there are no doctors, like there are no doctors allocated to that center.
Yeah.
There might be doctors allocated to that center, but we've had reports of doctors having their own personal or private hospitals. So by the time you come, the doctor might be attending to a patient in his own hospital.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
In a government hospital, most times it's not very common. Most government hospitals that has supervisors and all that. And sometimes even if it's common, even if you see it, sometimes it's not common because there are times, let me take UPTH for example, you go there, there's no way you see a doctor.
True.
Yeah, but sometimes it can just be very few doctors available. Most of the persons that have stayed from that duty, most times are the consultants who own their own hospitals and all that, just like what you said. But how do you correct that? This whole thing can be corrected. For how long? I don't know, over 8 years, is there employment going on in that health sector? They are talking about brain drain. It means that few workers are much, in fact, the rate at which people are getting sick, even on daily basis, is overwhelming, considering the economic downturn.
To now think that these people are leaving in mass.
If you want, why you should leave is first, that's what they mentioned, the brain drain. That's one. Then secondly, what's the motivation to stay? What's even making them to leave? They are going out to look, they are targeting it greener pasture. That's because when they go out to other advanced countries, they are well paid. That's the only reason they're going. So why not go back and improve on the welfare of your workers, the health sector workers? What's your pay level to the doctors and nurses?
But it's not, it's not just in the health sector that we have professionals not paid enough.
Right now, we're talking about the health sector. Other areas, if you go to education, same. So generally, it can also take us back to what the NLC has been agitating.
Do you think we can pay like other countries are paying?
We can, very well, if we want to.
We have that kind of resource?
We have excess. How much? Recently, you heard the issue of Empower, where they were sharing, ministers were sharing 50 billion. 50 billion is not 1 naira. 50 billion naira. How many, all the government, like, for instance, the Rivers State governor, his own salary, his salary for the whole workers is not even up to 10 billion. I'm talking about for a month. And then the ministers, not even one, they are sharing 50 billion each from a ministry. Now, talk about the national income. And you say that we can't pay. Is it when it comes to workers, we now begin to say there is no money? Then when it comes to the corruption angle among the airlines,
So how much with that now? How much would you say we are winning the fight?
That's the issue. How do you winning the fight? You can't even create employment. The persons who are already working, you can't pay very well. What's the motivation? If they are sick, who provides their health care? If they want to take care of their children, how do they get it? Then you studied for long, you've paid a high rate of school fees to be paid peanuts. Then go to the offices. Even I was there last week and I was looking at the office. I said, how can this be a doctor's office? Doctor who is treating people. Cobwebs everywhere. And what happened? The doctor just came in. This is your table. You went in and ordered and said, okay, give me file. Of course, it's not
talk about things like that. That's maintenance. Do we call the government on that also?
Why will you not?
Talking about cobwebs, talking about that's maintenance. That's having hands on ground to do that, to get that done.
A doctor working in such an environment, is that discouraging or encouraging? That's the point I'm making. The motivation is not there. If I want other doctor have to leave to look for where there is fun.
That's okay. When we talk about fun now, but that's also pointing at the poor maintenance that we have, the poor maintenance culture that we also have. But sometimes when the government provides these things, how do we even handle it? We that are in charge of it.
What do you mean by a government? Somebody is given as the MD.
Of course. And
this person is representing the president in that area. If there's any challenge, you write back to the Minister of Health. The Minister of Health takes back to the President. This thing has to do with hierarchy. It has to do with hierarchy. If there's even a problem, the doctor will even go back to, he knows where to channel it. The nurses bring to the doctor brings to another person. So if that channel is there and nothing is working, who do you blame? Everything goes back to the President. That's why he has to put his eyes down. So the discouragement in the health sector, the working environment, is not encouraging. The motivation is not there. The pay is not even much. So people are looking for greener pastures. The government, what I would advise the government to do is not even to begin to look at how to bring them back. Go and study what the other countries are doing. Go and study what is attracting them to leave. If what's attracting them to leave is not in your country, provide it. And you see everybody coming back and Nigeria will begin to have people trooping in. If Nigerians are going down, you see white men. Before now, we used to have white men working in our health sectors. How many are there? That's because the pay is very low.
You should ask how many of our people are even there in the first place before we talk about foreign.
That's the challenge. And people are just, the rate at which people are getting sick is something else. Somebody's brain is drained, and you're talking about health. If he makes any mistake and the person dies, who brings back the person? Whosoever that is dead is dead. Who brings back the person?
Discussing brain drain, that's the Japa syndrome in the health sector. I remember the other time we had some health professionals here to discuss that. And while they were talking about some of the challenges that they're facing in the health sector and the reasons people are leaving and the fact that it's even easier now, especially when you're a health professional. And then at the end of the conversation, they told us that they're also leaving Nigeria soon.
Oh, okay. That's to tell you what they are facing.
All right, let's look at the next story now. We have reported that this one's on education now, and ASU in the news again. The Academic Staff Union of Universities have informed the federal government of its plans to embark on a nationwide strike by placing the government on a 21-day notice. Sources within the National Executive Council of ASU confirmed the development to correspondents in Abuja on Monday. The notice was issued at the end of the NEC meeting, which was held at the University of Ibadan, and a copy is expected to be transmitted to the Federal Ministries of Labor and Education. It is not an ultimatum but a strike notice. We are giving them 21 days notice, after which we will embark on a strike, the statement of ASU. Our aim for putting out the notice is that is a requirement under labor laws, so we are trying to ensure that all our actions are done according to the law. The source said it would be recalled that ASU has threatened to embark on a strike over the non-implementation of agreements that were reached by the federal government. On June 26, the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, invited the union to a meeting to deliberate on the lingering issues affecting the universities to avert the planned strike. Now, they noted it, they stated it, some of the issues. The national president of ASU, Professor Emmanuel Sodoke, who spoke on the outcome of the meeting, said the agreements reached with the federal government had not been implemented. And then stating this, he said at the meeting called by the Minister of Education, we agreed that after 2 weeks, we will meet to see the progress the government has made. We will also see what we will do next if the government fails to implement the agreements that were reached. And the ASU president said some of the demands included the non-implementation of 2009 renegotiated agreements. Sodoke said the academic allowances due to their members had also accumulated for over 6 years. And nothing has been done about it. On the issue of its revitalization fund, he said they agreed on the needs assessment report to raise 200 billion naira yearly for 5 years. Since 2013, only one has been paid. We need revitalization funds to upgrade our universities to standard so that we can have students and lecturers from outside the country. He talked about upgrading the university to standard. This is a point that's talking about ASU's demand. Now, this is a point that Nigerians are not smiling about because they feel like upgrading the standard of the university, especially the learning standard, especially when it has to do with curriculum, they're blaming ASU for that, and they're wondering why ASU is calling on the federal government before that can be done. Let's get your thoughts.
Fortunately, we are...
Fortunately?
Yeah, fortunately.
Okay.
Fortunately, this is where we are now. Unfortunately, ASU has come up again. Why do I say so? You know, it has become reoccurring that in every government, ASU want to show power. ASU want to call for strike. In fact, ASU will go on strike.
So you think this is ASU just showing power? This
is ASU again coming up to show their strength. Why do I say so again? Unfortunately, also the government have also allowed this whole issue to linger, in the sense that every government will also not want to go on this lane. But why is it that every government is dodging this issue with ASU? That should call for concern. It started with before President Goodluck Jonathan. I remember when during President Yaradua.
Yes.
You know, in fact, it was even from President Obasanjo. And then he came up with no work, no pay. Yaradua came. I could remember very well, students were kept at home then, and then it was, the minister then was Sam Egu, I remember very well. We were protesting, and then it was JTF came and then blew tear gas on all of us, and then we were now running. We moved from that angle, they couldn't succeed, Goodluck Jonathan. In fact, to an extent, the president had to even go and intervene. Yet, nothing came out. Then we moved from President Jonathan, and now we went down to under President Muhammadu Buhari.
And yet you think it's just ASU trying to show their power?
No, you know, this whole thing, I'm trying to give you details of why I said it has become reoccurring. Every government also wants to muzzle power. Why? It's power. They are muzzling power. You're telling government that the agreement we reach, you have not been able to do it. They want to go on strike. Good. They are agitating for welfare. The welfare of what? The lecturers. Welfare of staff. This is also not even SANU, Academic Staff Union. So, can the students also come together and say, ASU, you have not been teaching us well. So and so lecturer is not teaching us well. There are lecturers who have come to humiliate students. What has happened? So students should also gather and say they have student union. Probably most of them have been bought over and now begin to agitate. ASU is trying to gather strength for their welfare. It's good. But why will the government always allow ASU to do this before they come up with agreements, before they come up with meetings, before they come up with one or two things? This is what Joe Ajaero, look at what Joe Ajaero is facing. And now the president, another person from the ASU angle is coming up with it. So will NLC join what ASU is coming up with? So if ASU is doing this, they said the agreement was for them to receive about 200 billion yearly, and they've received one. Let's start with the one they received. What happened? It's a good thing. Our education sector has gone bad. It's even going worse. We need to change it. The government should not be pushed first. They should not be pushed before they know that they should do the right thing. Then if you're doing the right thing and then the result is not coming up, you've given 200 billion at first. Also, what did you use this 200 billion to do? What has changed in our education sector with this 200 billion? Tell us. Then the government can come up to say the reason why we don't want to continue is because the one we gave, we didn't see results. But in this case, they just gave the money. Nobody cares. Nobody even cares whether it produced the results, there's an output or not. So even the government, it shows the government is not even paying attention to the education sector.
And that's a big problem.
That's a very big problem. How can a nation grow without its education sector booming? It depends. The level of education you give to your people determines the growth of the economy.
Students are even losing interest in education now.
They are losing interest because even the lecturer does not even present, most of the lecturers does not even present themselves to be capable. And everything is just somehow. The ASO, when you talk about the ASO, when you talk about academic staff, are they giving their best? If they're not giving their best, they blame it at the federal government not able to bring money. Then when you talk about federal government, they are not even saying anything about it. We will do. We just start seeing series of meetings. And also this strike we hold, I'm telling you it will hold because at the time you hear we didn't even agree with it. No. Then if it holds, who suffers it?
The students at the end.
The students! And finally, they will now agitate that because you didn't pay us while we were on strike, another you paused. Later they pay. Who pays for the education, the time that was lost on the student? That is the illegality going on in this country. Then until students begin to hold us responsible, begin to hold federal government responsible, that the fight of two elephants have affected our academics, have delayed our time. Do you know in advanced country, you don't even waste somebody's time. An hour is enough for anybody to jail you. And in this country, you waste students' time for months. All of a sudden, you receive your money, you go back home with your children and eat. And then the students, you don't even care whether futures are being wasted. You don't care whether people's time are being wasted. And all of a sudden, you tell us we've agreed with federal government, all of you come back to school. Just like that. And nobody's punished. The president should also know that this is an illegality to do. The ASU people, the ASU and all that, they should also know. Why are students suffering whenever ASU and the federal government are fighting? Why do students suffer and nobody compensates the students? All of it, you will come back and hear we've increased.
What sort of compensation are you looking at when you talk about the students?
For this reason, students, we are declaring free education. We are
we're talking about getting funds to even pay us in the first place, and now we're looking at free education.
They are not telling you getting funds to pay us. As they even didn't tell you they are not giving them salary. They are not paying them salary.
No, the monies that they've been talking about.
The monies they're talking about is different from salary.
Yes, of course, that's what we're talking about.
Good. And if you're putting in that money, where are you putting it? If you're getting money, okay, they say they've given you 200 billion. You've gotten 200 billion. Why did you not declare free education? Which means you have money to build the school, to build infrastructures. You have money to provide other things in the education sector. So why did you collect school fees from students? So what's the benefit of the students?
And you know when you talk about the student loan also, ASU actually stated earlier that money, instead of giving the students, would have been channeled to infrastructure development and enhancing this university's standard.
Thank you very much for bringing this. I have had this in mind. When I saw this news first, this was what came to my mind, because you said the last time you asked me this, and other, is it all right for us to channel it? It's becoming obvious that all ASU is concerned is just bring to us. Bring to us. Now they want to go on strike because they are agitating the federal government should bring in the 200 billion as agreed. That was an agreement. I don't even know why they agreed. I don't even know how it came about and all that. Then the one that wants to go to the students, which has to do with the student loan, which we are not even very sure how it will be disbursed. You're also saying they should bring it into ASU, not even to ASU. They channel it to education. Yes, they channel it to university. Who at the last time I asked you, who receives that money? If it's channel, if this one is also paid, whose accounts is it going to be paid? So you don't even care about the students' welfare. You don't even care about those who will even take the. You just want to beautify the place and leave it. we are bringing out, we are graduating students that after graduating from the school, they come back home, they can't do anything. Nobody cares, nobody gives grants, nobody provides. And why are they agitating for 200 billion? And you did not even include in such a way that at the end of every graduation, students should get grants or interest-free loan to start something, start a business, start production. If we want to increase, if we want to build the economy, how do you bring out graduates and you don't leave them to start looking for white-collar job? And then tomorrow you say you're building. How are you building the education sector? How are we building it? So I think whatever that is included in that 200 billion, the students should also be carried along.
All right, let's look at the last story we're taking now. We have reports, this is coming from Benue State, Governor Hyacinth Alia of Benue State, the Nigeria Medical Association of Nigeria also, and the Federal Ministry of Health has asked the security agencies to take steps to rescue the 20 medical students that were adopted in the state last Friday. You would recall that the said students who were on transit from the universities of Maiduguri and Jos were ambushed and taken away by gunmen near Otupo along the busy Otupo-Enugu highway while on their way to Enugu for the Federation of Catholic Medical and Dental Students Annual Convention. Now, they have called for the release. They have told the IGP, NMA, have told the IGP to make sure that the students are released. And Nigerians are asking questions like, what is going on? Even though the IGP has told us that a lot have been, released, they have told us that helicopters are out and some other gadgets, all of those things that are being put in place to be sure of the students' release. But Nigerians now are asking, these students were tweeting. They were sending messages on social media saying, oh, this is what has happened to us. Right now, they are taking us to this and that. So people are asking, why can't we trace or track, since their phones are on and they are online? It could have been easier, but that is our thought. We're not the security operatives now. But so what? Let's get your thoughts on this.
If the security agents want to track, they can. I trust them. If the police wants to work, you enjoy the police.
So you don't think they want to work now?
No, if they want, they've not come out to say they are not working. They've only come out to say, and most times they won't even review what they are doing.
They're on it.
Yeah, but why if not? What we want is productivity. We want to see the output, the outcome of that's the whole thing you've put in place. So if that's happening, unfortunately it's happening, but it's not supposed to be, they should have been released easily. If you kidnap anybody that has to do with the VIPs or another, they will be within 24 hours is being released. So this can also encourage the Japa syndrome.
So do you think there's something like a class issue coming in here?
I don't think
because of the individuals that were
no, the security agents have not come up to even say these are the reasons. We are even talking about these ones being kidnapped. There are so many persons that are being kidnapped that nobody is hearing of. So it means there's a problem in the country. Talking about the doctor
for about 7 months now that have not still been
okay,
released.
Good. And now the enemy is also agitating that they should release her. Please, this ought not to be. Whosoever, whether doctor, a carpenter, whatever, it ought not to be. We should tackle the insecurity situation in this country. The police should devise means at which handling this thing urgently. This has to do with life. If they are dead, who revives them?
And talking about tackling the insecurity issues, I always like to ask, do we need foreign mercenaries to help us?
If that will help us, let's do it. If we can't do it, let's get foreign mercenaries. Of course, when the VIPs are sick, they go out. So why is it that if we are faced with insecurity, why can't you bring foreigners? So I accept that.
Thank you so much, Dandy. I appreciate your thoughts with me on the show for today, and we hope to have you some other time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And big thanks to you for being a part of the conversation. I did not do this alone. Dandy has been here with me. You also have been here. I've had Williams here with me. I've had Samuel here with me. All right, stay connected on all of our socials on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1, and on X at Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website at www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Remember that I am Enidoye Jackson. Coming up next is Open Conversation. Please stay with us.